So I would like to invite Scott to come on up and introduce yourself, introduce Dahlia, and thank you for being here. Scott I am so thrilled that we have him to come and speak to you.
Thank you very much.
Scott.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to switch over here to another presentation. All right. This is a really amazing event and an amazing invitation, and it's such a good idea, and to have people in the community like Christina and Chris and everyone that we've met so far this morning is really a credit to the Encinitas community. My name's Scott Pirrello. I'm a deputy district attorney, so I'm a prosecutor with the San Diego District Attorney's Office, and I'm starting out with a pop quiz. I'm always curious what people's perception are. So I'm a deputy district attorney in San Diego. How many deputy district attorneys do you think we have here in the county of San Diego? Shout out a number.
5.
5? 1? 218?
20.
So, anyone know who this is?
Yep.
This is my boss. This is Summer Steffen. We're all so fortunate to be living in a county with such a proactive, wonderful district attorney. So she's the elected district attorney. The rest of us are deputy district attorneys, and you win the prize. You get a clipboard with some documents on it, but there are just over 300 deputy district attorneys. And it's not to diminish me. They're all wonderful, but you guys are up here in Encinitas, so we have the Vista Courthouse, where you probably all go to jury duty because the parking is easier. But we have courthouses in El Cajon. We have courthouse down in Chula Vista. I work downtown at the Hall of Justice on West Broadway. Then we have a juvenile branch that's over in the Kearny Mesa area. So there's a lot of crime, unfortunately, that we need 300 or so of us to cover all the different types of cases, right? You have gang cases, and you have narcotics cases, and you have economic crimes, and you have domestic violence, and I am in our elder abuse unit. And so I'm a prosecutor, and sometimes when you're dealing with community members, police officers, prosecutors, it could be a little scary sometimes, a little intimidating, but I want to introduce you to the softer side of the DA's office, which is my colleague, Dahlia Muhammad, that we're really fortunate to have, and I want her to introduce herself and the victim assistance program that we have at the DA's office for a few minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to see all of you here. So I'm a victim advocate at the District Attorney's Office. I work with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, elder abuse, child abuse, and human trafficking. So we work with a lot of families that are going through a really hard time. He's a prosecutor at our office. So we have a lot of cases that we work on together, whether it's elder abuse or any other of the cases that I mentioned. We also work with victims of crimes that haven't reported. So they'll just call our main line and they'll need resources. They don't know what to do or how to go forward. I get calls by our elders that call and say, I don't know what to do, I'm in this situation. And just because we don't have an open case doesn't mean that we can't help you. We will assist you with how to file a police report or where to go to get resources. I will be out there at the table. We have some great goodies, and then I can answer your questions as well. And I can give you our main line to call just in case you have any questions or have a friend that may need that number, okay? All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So to reintroduce you, this is Summer Steffen, and I just love when she was running for district attorney a few years ago. This is a line that she used when she was campaigning, and it just resonated with me so much. And it's really a mantra that she lives by, which is that she believes our civilization ultimately will be judged by how we treat our most vulnerable, the youngest and the oldest and the most vulnerable in our society that often don't have a voice of their own, especially in the fight for justice for our victims. And being the elder abuse prosecutor, of course, that really resonated with me. So at the district attorney's office, as Dahlia said, we prosecute a lot of cases of elder abuse. And elder abuse encompasses a lot of subject areas. There's physical elder abuse, which could just be, does anyone know what the age of an elder is in the state of California? 65. 65. So the legislature has defined that. And sometimes I feel bad because we get maybe a 66 or 67-year-old who gets, pushed down at the train station, and I call them and I say, I'm Scott Pirrello and I'm the elder abuse prosecutor. And the victim will say, oh my goodness, am I an elder? Why are you calling me? So yes, I'm like the Grim Reaper sometimes, but no, it's not me. It's the legislature in Sacramento. So they say 65 and older. So physical abuse is any sort of physical, could just be a battery. It doesn't have to be from like a caregiver or in a nursing home type setting. If you're over the age of 65 and someone, like I said, just randomly hits you or you get into some problem, that could be physical elder abuse in California. There's also mental abuse, and that is sometimes difficult to prosecute criminally, but it doesn't mean that it's not abuse. And there's lots of resources out there. We do get a lot of calls at our office, and we talk to people, like Dahlia said, and can refer them to different places, because not all abuse is criminal elder abuse. We have a lot of financial abuse, and we're going to talk about a lot of that today. That's what we're going to focus on, because of all the forms of elder abuse out there, the form that everyone in this room, myself included, is most likely to become a victim of at some point in their life is financial elder abuse. And it's really financial abuse for anyone. And don't let your grandchildren convince you that you are more vulnerable than them. Because the research now is saying that young people, millennials, are actually falling victim more often to these scams because they have more exposure on all the apps that they're using, or they're buying concert tickets and they're getting scammed. The dollar amounts are lower though. What we're seeing is that with our senior victims, there's a lot more to lose, and they are losing substantially more money. And of course, the impact when you have saved up your entire life and have your nest egg, the impact is so much greater. So in our office, the actual cases that we get from the police department and that we prosecute. So what does that mean that we prosecute? It means we actually get a person that's done something wrong, the bad guy. We put them in handcuffs, right? We bring them to court. If this case is serious enough, we put them in jail or we send them to state prison. So the types of cases that we see are just over 50% involve family members. Children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. Most of the time, there is some sort of underlying issue. There's a drug problem. There's some sort of mental health issue going on, right? There's some sort of indicator there that makes that a higher risk situation. And it could be as simple as taking a couple checks, forging some checks, using a debit card, unauthorized credit card transactions, stealing some cash, stealing jewelry. But it goes all the way up to people trying to get their, a house transferred to their name, or taking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we get from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000s all the way up to very large scale cases. There is a lot of caregiver theft also, unfortunately. And so if you are at the point in your life, and often people are thrust into this situation and they can't prepare for it. Who here has had a knee surgery and needed a caregiver just for a couple hours in a week, right? Because when someone gets to the ultimate stage where they need 24/7 care, usually the family can get in and prepare, maybe take the diamond jewelry and find a safe spot for it somewhere else in the family. But sometimes when people bring caregivers in and they're not prepared for it, and you see caregivers that cycle through, it's very difficult. If you're in the situation, or maybe you've done it for your own parent or someone in your family, you see if you need around-the-clock care, there's 3, 4, 5 caregivers a day that could be coming in and out of the house. So we want people to be vigilant. The point of these talks when we come out into the community is not to scare people. we don't want to send you out that door any less trusting than when you came in. The purpose of these talks is to make you more vigilant. And if you do have caregivers coming in your house, 99% of them are incredible people that they've chosen this as a profession to care for people in the most intimate of ways, right? But unfortunately, there are bad apples. There's bad apples in my business and all of your careers. There's bad apples, right? And so you just need to prepare for that by safeguarding jewelry, by making sure there's an extra set of eyes on bank accounts. Okay, most of the financial cases where we see a lot of money disappearing from people, from family members or caregivers, it is usually discovered by an adult child across the country. We'll get a call from Boston, right? And it's, I just happen to look at mom or dad's banking account and I can't believe it. $30,000 has gone out of there in the last 6 months. So I think there's a direct relationship. As seniors age and age, they start paying less and less attention to their mail. And so it's good if you have a trusted family member to say, hey, I'm not gonna make you a co-signer on my bank account, but I'll give you access maybe to view my account online, just to have an extra set of eyes so there's no suspicious transactions. So these are kind of safeguard steps that you could take. So those are the cases that we prosecute and that we are very good at holding people accountable and trying to get some money back for our victims. Now, when I started doing this about 10 years ago, coming out into the community, talking about these cases, I would talk about all the cases that I actually spent my hours every day of my career working. And then after these presentations, there would be a line of people in the hallway. And they were telling me things and asking me things about cases that I wasn't working. And these were the scams. And it just had this epiphany. And I said, how come more people want to talk about these scams, but I am the elder abuse prosecutor in San Diego, and I've never, 0 cases. I've never prosecuted a scam case. And I said, what is going on here? So I called my friend, the sergeant at the police department who ran their elder abuse division, and I said, are you seeing any of these scam cases? Because I'm going out into the community and I need to educate people, and I'm literally cheating. I'm Googling elder scams so that I could read up and then fake it and talk to people and pretend I know what I'm talking about. And the sergeant told me, she said, oh yeah, we get tons of these reports. I said, well, how come we're not getting them at the DA's office? She said, well, there's nothing we could do. The bad guys are in Nigeria or the Caribbean or China. So what is the sheriff's department or the San Diego Police Department going to do? They can't go serve a search warrant in Nigeria. I said, oh my gosh. So I said, can you just start sending me these reports? Because I just need to educate myself, because I want to go into the community and tell them what the latest trends are so that they could be more vigilant. And that was about 3 years ago, and it started us on this path to what you're going to hear about today. Elder scams. How big of a problem is this issue? Anyone want to guess, in the United States of America, how much money a year is leaving the bank accounts of our seniors?
Billions.
Any other guesses? Millions? Billions?
3 billion.
3 billion? Yeah, there's a B. There's a B attached to it, and it's scary because one of the things that makes elder abuse so frightening from my perspective is that the research and our practice tells us that we only know about 1 in about 25 cases of elder abuse.
Wow.
Think about that and digest that. It means for every 1 case that you've heard of in your community, watching it on the news, picture that victim, right, that you've seen just completely broken, and picture 24 other people just like them, right? Your neighbors, your contemporaries, and they're suffering in silence at home. They're shutting themselves down. They stop coming to meetings like this. They stop going to their temples and churches. They become withdrawn. It's a very sad pattern that unfortunately we see over and over again. And so the problem in identifying exactly how big of a problem these scams are is that we know we're only getting a very small sample size. And so there is a study that I think MetLife put out recently, and they said 3 billion. Wow. There's another study that says 300 billion, which I think is closer to the truth. But even the FBI is putting out numbers now that support that the number nationally is over $100 billion. Now, we've been talking about these huge numbers and going around the community, and people have the same response you do. Wow, it's so eye-opening. But I think it's such a huge number that it's hard to even comprehend it. And so we set out. Stefan called us together 3 years ago, and she said, we need to be the leaders on this issue in San Diego for the whole country. And part of what she wanted us to do was not only try to go after the bad guys that are doing this, but we need to figure out how big of a problem it is here in San Diego. Because these things are being reported to all different places. Some people call the FBI, some people call the police department, some people call Adult Protective Services, some people call AARP, some people report, if you Googled where to report elder abuse, you'd have 15 different options on what to do. So we really have spent the last few years focusing on getting all the stakeholders in town, in the whole county together, so that we could come up with the number, so that we could go to the politicians, the elected leaders in San Diego and say, this is how big our problem is, and now we need the resources, right? And so we're very proud that we now have a number, but at the same time, it's so astonishing and jaw-dropping that it's depressing. Does anyone want to guess what the number is for San Diego for last year? Throw out a number.
10 billion.
10 billion?
400 million.
It's not in the billions, thank God. 500 million, yeah. It's $60 million. That's reported. That's actually tied to actual human beings, your neighbors. 60 million. Think about that. Anyone here was in the finance industry. Think of that money that has left our economy, right? That's retirement funds, that's inheritances. 60 million, 1,700 victims in San Diego County alone. So 1,700. So if anyone here has come today because they've actually been a victim, I'm here to tell you, don't be embarrassed. This is happening at such a huge scale. And that's part of why we need to be out here talking about it, is because we need to reduce the stigma of it. The bad guys are so good at what they do. These scammers are so good that there are so many. So that's actual reported victims and reported losses. If you apply that multiplier I gave you, right, 20 times, you can't even comprehend that could actually be happening, but I'm here to tell you that it is. And so all these cases that you're hearing about, it's because it's so prevalent. And so we're launching huge awareness campaigns, and I'll tell you about a new initiative that we're doing here, but this is a message that we need you all. You all showed up today. You had the courage to show up today, and we need you to go back out into the community and spread this and tell people this. Because the more we all talk about it, the more victims will have come forward, and we will get the attention ultimately that we need on this problem. So this is 50 million it says here, but we've updated it. It's 60 from last year. Now, this is the scariest part for me, because I'm out here, I'm in court, and then I'm running out to book clubs and community centers at lunchtime trying to educate people. Is the education working? I want to be here. I want to be talking to you all. But are we going to educate ourselves out of this problem when there's a 75% increase from last year to this year? And do you know why? We know this for a fact, that the people around the world that were running drug cartels are getting out of that business. It's too risky. They're getting into this business, the elder scam business. Right? They're not getting shot over this. They could telecommute, right? They're working from home. They're just sitting there in a call center making calls. Hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, this is a major source of funds for illicit organizations all around the world. So it's very scary, and law enforcement, local, state, federal, internationally, needs to answer this call. So what are the top scams right now? And I could tell you, I want to bring it even closer to home, because you see the big number for San Diego. I could tell you that there's a victim in San Diego, from right here in Encinitas, from last month. And she is in her late 60s. So I want to paint the picture, because a lot of people think, oh, the people that are falling for this must have dementia or Alzheimer's, because I would never fall for that. That's what a lot of people think, up until the point that they can't believe that they've fallen for it themselves. So the victim, and I've talked to her, she is so sharp, professional career, still living independently, driving, helping with the grandkids, just like anyone who could be in this room right now. And she lost $800,000. This happened last month. I walked into the Chase Bank over here by Trader Joe's a couple months ago, and I just strike up a conversation with people, right? Because I'm I bank at Chase. And I just asked the bank teller, I said, are you have seniors coming in here trying to wire large sums of money? And he put his head down, and I slid him my business card. I said, yeah, it's okay. I'm in elder abuse. This is what I do. I'm reading these police reports, and I'm seeing this. And he said, yeah, of course it's happening. I said, wow. I said, how many times a week would you say that it's happening? And he said, how many times a week? What are you talking about? How many times a day? And now if you drive around Encinitas, right, that's one shopping center. There's 3 banks there. There's U.S. Bank. You drive across to the other parking lot, there's another. I mean, from the Ford dealership to the Home Depot, there's 40 banks. And imagine if there's 6 Encinitas residents a day. I mean, it's really at a critical point. And the reason I'm telling you again is, after this, I want you to be more aware when you're doing your banking. You're the eyes and ears. That if you see someone that is a senior specifically, that looks distressed, that's on their cell phone as they walk into the bank, because the scammers will still be on the phone with them, I want you to stop them. I want you to say, are you okay? Because guess what the scammers do? The first thing they tell the victims. They say, whatever the scam is, right? Whatever they've fallen for, they are convinced that it's going to get worse if they tell someone. That their grandchild is going to be in more trouble, that they're going to lose more money, that they're going to be arrested, that a judge has issued a gag order if they talk about this top secret thing that they're caught up in. And they need someone to snap them out of it. Our victims often tell us, I can't believe it. It was like I was in a trance that I just needed someone to wake me up from. And the bank tellers are trained, and they're going to try to tell the victims, are you sure you're not being scammed? But the scammers tell them what to tell the bank tellers to get around it. So they really need someone to bring up the actual scenario, right? Did someone tell you that you're not allowed to talk about something? Did someone tell you there's a gag order? Are you okay? Did someone tell you your grandchild's in danger? So these are the top scams right now that it's so hard to think about, that a couple hundred yards away at that Chase, there could be someone there right now that's doing this. This right now, the information technology bank account scam is probably now more prevalent because it's gotten so much more traction with these scammers. The way this scam works is that you will get either a pop-up on your computer or a phone call or something to say that you have a virus on your computer. That's how it starts. Or they'll say that they're from Microsoft or Dell or the Best Buy Geek Squad, And they'll tell you that when you bought your device or your computer that you paid for one of these service plans that is going to protect your computer, and they're calling you so that they could do their annual virus sweep for you. What they're trying to do is get access to your computer so that they could get into your online banking. That's the game they're playing. Or they will convince you that you have a virus on your computer and that somehow your entire financial life is now in jeopardy. That's how they're getting these huge sums. They're telling people that, so the initial call could be from Microsoft, right? And they'll say, your computer's been compromised. We have to get all your money out of your Chase bank account. And we have to put it in a federal bank account temporarily to keep it safe until you can go back to your bank at Chase or Bank of America and clear everything up. And so you're in a panic. You think you're about to lose all your money. So you quickly transfer your money into what you think is a legitimate bank account that they've just set up for you. And that's how these huge sums are being lost. So it's happening very quickly, and it's very scary because when I'm reading these police reports, it's people just like everyone here in this room, myself included. They're going about their day. They come home, they want to email their grandchildren, they turn on their computer, they get a little message, and their lives are changed forever. And it's very scary. Just to quickly go through the rest of them, I honestly think my phone rings incessantly with all the same calls. I haven't gotten the IRS or the Social Security call in a long time. I think these other ones have gotten too easy, and people now know that the IRS or the Social Security Administration is not going to call you. But there is a common scam that people are falling for, which is some sort of law enforcement agency, whether it's the police or the sheriff, or sometimes it's, or more often, it's a police department or the DEA or the FBI in Texas. And they'll say, a car was just involved in a huge drug deal, and your name somehow is on the title of that vehicle. And you're going to be in trouble for that drug deal unless you pay this, money to do whatever you need. So law enforcement impersonation is a big one. And they'll say that they've got federal agents waiting a few houses down. They're ready to kick your door in to arrest you. This Facebook or LinkedIn, this is really becoming very prevalent, where people that you actually identify as a friend, right? So, God forbid, after this meeting, if you get a message thanking you for coming to this meeting today, and it's from Christina, Christy, sorry. They're all so close, Christy. And then she says, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Sadly, after our meeting today, I came down with COVID and I lost my voice, but my nephew's birthday party is this weekend and I need to get him gifts. Can you please go and get some gift cards and send them to... This is very common. It's called an email compromise. So it's someone, it could be your sister, it could be your high school classmate. It's someone that you recognize that is sending you a direct message on Facebook or LinkedIn, and it might even have their picture because they've somehow gotten in and seen all your friends and then recreated a different account to look like them. And so you just have to be cautious. If anyone is asking you for money or personal information or asking you, she might say, hey everyone, here's some resources from today, click on the link. You've got to be careful. You got to look at where it's coming from, what the link is. Never send any money to anyone without calling and verifying, right? Just stop. Hang up the phone, even if it's the police. It's not illegal to hang up on the police. So if you get a call from the sheriff, hang up the phone, look up what the sheriff's actual phone number is and say, I just got a call from the sheriff. Am I needed for something? Right? No one's going to ever call saying, you missed jury duty, we're coming for you. Or you have a red light ticket you haven't paid, and we're coming for you if you don't pay. That's never going to happen, right? And so we need to get that and educate people. romance scams. Now, this usually gets the most giggles in the audience, but this is the most devastating. And they are very common. Let me tell you, they're very common. And it starts, you don't have to be looking for love. Now, a lot of people are getting taken down because they are going on Match.com or Silver Singles. There's a few that are just for seniors, and it's wonderful if people are doing that. I know a lot of adult children are encouraging their elderly parents, widowers, right? They're saying, hey, Mom, Dad's been gone for 10 years. Why don't you get on there, create a profile? You could just maybe text with someone. You just need some companionship. And within minutes of creating a profile, people are contacted by some very handsome businessman from Rancho Santa Fe who happens to be working on building a skyscraper in Malaysia. I'm not joking. This is the common, for women, this is the common draw. Or he's working on an oil rig because he's the CEO of the oil company. And that's why he's not here, right? And they will start a very intimate, passionate relationship where there's hundreds of hours being invested by the bad guys. Phone calls, emails, love letters. And the promise is that when the skyscraper's built, he's going to come back to the house in Rancho Santa Fe and you're going to live happily ever after. Now, we can imagine what the profile is that the men fall for, right? It's usually a porn actress that they've stolen a picture, I'm not exaggerating, or some Playboy model, and the male falls for this, and it's the same scenario. She's doing business overseas, and there's a real love affair that develops, and that's why we see the most amount of money, because it starts with, hey, can you buy me a cell phone? Or, hey, my son just got in a car accident, and I don't have access to my funds. Can you help pay his medical bill? And you might pay a couple hundred, then a couple thousand, then 20,000, and then these are from real cases. Then the meeting at the airport's going to come, right? You're going to come down to San Diego tomorrow. Can you imagine after a 6-month courtship, and we're finally going to meet and embrace each other, and hours before you leave for the airport, you get a call that he's been held up at customs in Malaysia. And all you have to do is pay the taxes that Malaysia wants him to pay to get out of there so that he could get on his flight. And you're just ready to move to Rancho Santa Fe at this point, right? And we've seen people sadly rush to get a reverse mortgage on their house and give 7 figures. You can imagine, we've had suicides over this. So if you have a friend who might be bragging about a new love interest, it's not always time to giggle or be excited for them. You want to obviously figure out who the closest people are to them and have someone to have a serious talk with them, right? Can't fall in love with someone unless they're physically here and you can meet them for coffee. Don't fall in love on the computer because these scammers are waiting for this situation. And again, this isn't 1 or 2 cases. There's hundreds of victims in San Diego falling for this with 7-figure losses. So it's a very serious thing.
And some people you can meet. I know that at least 3 cases involving men, friends of my husband, who have had situations where they're either women that are 20 years younger, they're either newly arrived in the country, they say they are, or they are here for a visit.
So that's a little different. And you have to be worried about physical people here in town preying on people for sure.
Yeah, but there are people that say, I'm going to have to go back to where I came from if I don't get money.
Right.
Or can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? That kind of thing.
Of course. So those were all the scams that I just listed, right? So assuming you've fallen for the scam, you're still okay at that point, right? You might be convinced that your granddaughter is in jail or that your computer's been corrupted or that your love interest is stuck in Malaysia. We're still good, right? We might be mentally damaged at this point, but we still have the money in our bank account. So how are they getting our money? Anyone know?
Wire transfer.
Okay, wire transfer is a big one, right? We talked about people that are walking into the banks In a wire transfer?
Gift cards.
Gift cards. Does everyone know what that means? Gift cards? So this is very common. So billions of dollars in gift cards. So they're telling people to go to Home Depot, Walmart, Target, to buy $500 denomination gift cards, to buy a dozen of them, and then read the code on the back of the card to the scammer, and from a million miles away, they could pull the money right off the card, and our victims are just holding an empty piece of plastic. So gift cards is one of the main ways that this is happening. The question up front is, they could do that? It's like a prepaid debit card. It's like giving someone your debit card number over the phone, and they could make a transaction with it. So cash. We have people here in Encinitas and all over the county that actually will go to the bank, take cash out, and someone will either be sent to their door to pick it up. The grandma, grandpa scam, it's very common that a bail agent is going to be sent to the house to come pick up an envelope of cash, or they'll tell you to get the cash. We just had a victim in South Carolina send $30,000 in a UPS envelope to a CVS store in Carlsbad last weekend. Luckily, we got the heads up from South Carolina police in time, and we intercepted that package and the person that was coming to pick it up.
And what happens to these people?
That person is in jail right now. So we're trying to do more. But for years and years, nothing was happening because it's so difficult to get the response, right? It took a heads up from the South Carolina. Well, first of all, it took the fact that the case was reported so quickly. So many of our victims report, right? They're so embarrassed and humiliated at first they don't say anything. And after a few weeks or a few months, it's way too late. Thank God someone had talked to this victim. She realized she was scammed and was able to call the police while her money was still in transit. We had tracking numbers on the UPS package. So for that victim, sadly, she had sent $30,000 2 days before, which we couldn't get, but we got this package. So cash, gift cards. Now there's one new way, because I told you the scammers are so good at what they do that they're studying our every move and they're evolving faster than we can keep up with them. So what's the latest way to get money in this universe? Cash apps? Yes, cash apps, Venmo, PayPal, that's part of it, but this is even more advanced than that, but it's connected. Who here is savvy enough to be a Bitcoin millionaire yet? Cryptocurrency. So now here's the thing. I hardly understand Bitcoin. And I have parents who are in their 70s and 80s, and I know they don't understand it, but if you're sitting here saying, I don't get Bitcoin, so I don't need to worry about it, I'm here to sadly report that's not the case, because the bad guys can talk you through it in about 5 minutes, how to set up something on your computer where they could transfer all the money from your online banking into a crypto account, or they'll just send you to the nearby convenience store where you probably haven't noticed, but these are Bitcoin ATM machines that you could feed your cash into, and these are all over San Diego now. You feed your cash into the machine, you put the code that they give you, and that money is off into the dark web, and you can't get it. So, again, now, you don't need to be more scared than you were when you came in here, but think how much smarter you are, because now you know that you're never going to pay for anything, no matter what it is, with a gift card or cryptocurrency. No matter what no one will ever legitimately ask you to pay for that, right? If some contractor knocks on your door and offers to repave your driveway but wants to be paid in gift cards or cryptocurrency, it means that he doesn't want a paper trail, right? He doesn't want you to write a personal check, right? Gift cards are for giving gifts. They're not meant for paying for things. So you don't need to be scared, because you now are that much smarter about all these things, but you need to start telling everyone in your sphere, everyone in your life about all this stuff. And again, just like if your friend is bragging about the new boyfriend, if they start bragging about their new cryptocurrency account, maybe they're savvy, but maybe you need to tell them about what you learned from the district attorney's office, because maybe they've been set up an account because they were manipulated. So is there good news? Is it all bad news? No, it's not all bad news. There's good news in that, like I said, when Stefan called us together, she said she wanted San Diego to be out in front on this. This is our crowning achievement, which is the San Diego FBI Elder Justice Task Force. And so what we realized was we can't do this. The San Diego sheriff can't do this on their own. The DA's office, we can't do it because it's true. The bad guys are overseas, but what we've learned through our efforts is that there's a network of money launderers all around the United States. The people who are going to the places to pick up the cash, there's money mules all over. Unfortunately, we're learning that a lot of seniors are falling victim to one of these scams, and then they're being deputized to work off their debt. So they're told, okay, you lost all your money. Now, we're not going to ask you for any more money, but there's a way for you to make back some of your money. You're going to get a $30,000 package next week. And when you get that package, you're going to deposit it in your bank account, and then you're going to send that money to someone else. Right? So the bad guys overseas are using people in the United States to wash their money so that they can't be connected to it. So again, if you have a friend who says, yeah, I got this little side hustle, right, where all I have to do is receive a check in the mail and then go send it, and I get to keep $500 every time I do it. You know, that's like in the old days where someone would tap someone on the shoulder outside of a bank and say, can you go cash this check for me? You could keep $20. It's the same thing. And people are being made into money launderers. But there are prolific money launderers who are moving millions of dollars through their bank accounts at the behest of these scammers. And that's who we're going after. So that's how we kind of crack the code, because we can't go to Nigeria and India and arrest these people. It's very difficult to do that. But we can go after these networks. We're trying to bring down, and we've got the FBI in San Diego and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the first time anywhere in the country working together. We actually had a very successful case last year that started out with one of these people that was picking up cash at our victim's door, and we turned into a racketeering indictment by the U.S. Attorney's Office by 8 people all around the country that were moving this money. And there's people serving double digits in federal prison now as a result of this effort here in San Diego. So we're very proud of that. So if you know someone that's been the victim, what do? What can you do? The first thing you need, because some people will call me, like people I know, they'll say, I know you're doing that thing with the scams. You know, my mother just sent the money. Like, what should I do? And I'll say, well, what have you done so far besides call me? I can't do everything from behind my desk. Stop the bleeding. Get to the bank, get all the money out of the accounts that are compromised. You know, you have to focus on making sure that the scammers are going to keep calling. Maybe it's time to change, if someone you love is falling victim to this over and over again, it's time to change the phone number, because sometimes there's an intervention and then they fall for it again. So you want to stop the bleeding. Then you want to report it. So for our new task force, if you want a case investigated, it has to come through a local police agency. So wherever you live up here, we want you to go walk into the sheriff's station and make a report. We want you to call the non-emergency line. Now, if it's Friday night, we all know, right? I read next door. People complain about how long they wait. It's not a violent crime, so you might end up waiting, or they might say, I'm sorry, we don't have time right now to take a report. Be persistent. You tell them, we want a report made. This is an elder scam. We want a report made. In addition, we want you also, right? This is for best results. This is the FBI's Central Clearinghouse for Scam Activity, ic3.gov. And that's where we are able to identify the trends nationally and link cases together. So we want you to report to ic3.gov also. And if you're concerned about anyone, right? If you've been listening today and you're just thinking about a friend of yours, a neighbor, a relative that you're concerned about, whether from a grandson that might be a drug addict that's living with them, or you might think they're falling victim to an international scam, report to Adult Protective Services. You don't have to believe a crime has been committed. That's what's great about that. It's not like calling 911. You're not being nosy, and you get to be anonymous. That's the best part. So if you merely suspect that someone that you know might be the victim of elder abuse, any of the forms I talked about, please make an Adult Protective Services referral. That's a way to get them on the radar of all the county agencies that do this sort of thing. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have a question? If so, I'm going to bring over.
Just a quick one. What did AIS stand for? You called it
Sorry.
Adult Protective Services.
Yeah.
But
It's the parent agency. There's Adult Protective Services and there's Aging and Independent Services. AIS, APS, and we use them
okay.
sloppily but interchangeably. Yes. Good question.
Patty, you had a question?
I get about 150 to 200 spams a day in my email. Is there any way to get that stopped? And they're always telling me I've won this money.
Yeah. The question is, she gets over 100 spam emails a day. Sadly, there isn't a way to get it to stop. There are all kinds of spam blockers. So if it's that many, so it's very difficult because you think that it's that all the people in your life know that email address and you don't want to change it. But if I was getting that much spam, I think it's time to get a new email account. It's the only way, and start completely fresh. And don't sign up for, like if you buy something on the internet, legitimately, there's always a little box. And it says, sign up for notifications and promotions. And you don't even realize it's already checked. You usually have to uncheck it. But what that is doing is signing you up to all these subscription lists. So you want to get a new email address, and then just send one email to all the people in your life, and just say, hey, I was getting so much spam, I needed to get a new email address, and here it is, so your grandchildren and your friends and family can find you. But
I
that,
have 2 other Gmail accounts, which never get to these.
there you go.
This is Yahoo.
Yeah.
And,
But you've had it for a while, there's nothing you can do. You can't slow it down.
I had an email address, I don't know, 15 years ago. That's the one they're sending it to, and it's coming to me. It's the old, I don't know how to get rid of that old address again.
Do you have anyone under the age of 30 in your family? They know how.
Yeah, but he's in Australia.
Okay, find a neighbor, find a 12-year-old kid. They're better. They could fix everything on your computer for you. Yes.
You're right.
I used to get 20 to 25 calls a day on my landline, unavailable, anonymous, 800 or some, crazy zip code. But anyway, I finally gave up my landline. I wish I had done that years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm using just my cell, and it's
Well, it's such
quiet.
a disaster. It feels like we're surrendering, right? By making these concessions. If we're getting rid of landlines just for that purpose, it's sad. But there's also, very slowly, out of Washington, they're now looking at laws to hold the telephone companies more accountable. That's why at least there says, possible spam now.
Yeah.
It's not it should just not let the call through at all, but at least they're trying, right?
So a couple of things. Even using gift cards to actually give a gift is subject to being scammed. I've had gift cards that I've purchased at the grocery store, and I went to use them, and all the value was wiped off. They were used at gas stations up in Riverside County,
Right.
Over the course of a weekend. And I've heard from other people the same thing happens. They buy gift cards at Target and stuff like that. So I no longer use gift cards of any sort for gifts for people. Or if I do, on the rare occasion when I've done it, I tell the person, use it immediately.
Very
Because
good
somebody's
advice.
checking these numbers. So that's one thing. I was always told that for some of these scams involve an appeal to a person's inner greed, which we all have to a certain degree. Like you've won a lottery, but you've got to pay something. That didn't seem to come up in your list. Is that dropping in prevalence?
It's dropping, but we still see them. We still
Okay.
see all that.
So if there's a deal that's too good to be
Of course.
true, of course, that's something to
course.
look out for.
Lotteries, publishers, clearinghouse. We're seeing all these scams. But when it seems like when the scam's working really well, there's a real focus on that, and so we're seeing a lot more of the ones I mentioned. That most of the scams right now are some sort of technology play because
Right, okay.
it's become so lucrative for them. But yeah, you have to be wary of all the old traditional scams. Yes.
How about a call from the your power company? You've been paying too much for your power, you'll be getting credit back on your credit card. What's the number, the credit card?
Oh.
Yeah. SDG&E is that was I think on my list there. Or more commonly is that your power is going to be shut off unless you pay, just like you haven't paid your taxes or.
So if I go into Target and I buy a gift card, the clerk could take a picture of it, get the serial number, and go in and,
No, there's a silver code like a scratch ticket,
oh,
and you have to once you buy it, you scratch it off. So if you buy a gift card, you make sure that is still intact.
I didn't
They,
even know
they
about
still
that.
can do it. I think
Yeah.
it's people on the
They still
inside
can
of the
do it,
industry.
but if you're buying a card, you want to make sure.
Yeah.
Usually it's wrapped in a piece of cardboard, so you can't access the back of the card until you
Oh.
purchase it. But yes, of course, you always
There's a
have to
card-
beware.
There's a card number, and people they call these 800 numbers all the time to see if the card's been activated. And then as soon as they find out it's activated but hasn't been used yet, they somehow wipe the amount.
Yes.
This kind of dovetails with it. The last few years, when you go into a new physician's office, you fill out the form, Social Security, DL. But not only that, now the labs and the stuff, they take your Medicare card, your secondary medical, and your driver's license. They take pictures of it. And to me, that is like identity fraud waiting to happen because you don't know who's in that office, you don't know how that information is stored, and you don't know that somebody doesn't have a pissed off boyfriend who works there or something. Are you finding that is a problem?
So we're not getting a lot of cases from medical offices that people are stealing files, but that is a different category of crime, and it's a good thing to bring up because it's almost better if there is a crime to fall for, identity theft, right? Because there are a lot of tools out there, and if everyone should have some sort of credit monitoring system. Your bank can set you up with it, your credit card companies, I pay $13 a month. I get an email once a month. I can see if anyone has accessed my credit, right? Run your credit checks, because if someone obtains your identity, you can keep yourself safe, and if you document that you have one of these LifeLock or one of these systems and someone steals from you, the banks will reimburse you most of the time, unless there's some complicated factor. The scams are different because you, on your own volition, are walking into your bank and demanding to withdraw your money, and so people are not recovering their money. So, of course, we want to safeguard all our information, and that is a different talk, so to speak. That's more of an identity theft presentation, and you do bring up a great point. We want to keep ourselves as safe as possible and make sure we're not putting that information out there, but your doctor does need that information, so we can't tell people not to provide that, and you hope that whatever medical office you're going to is secure. But again, falling victim to identity theft is scary to know that your information's out there, but there's steps you can take to protect yourself.
What about home title fraud? Is something that's advertised all the time, wondering if that's really an issue or not. And then I also wanted to mention too, I had the same thing happen at Starbucks with my cards, but Starbucks apparently knows about it, and they gave me my money back.
Yeah.
But I bought a bunch of them, sent them to relatives, and they were empty.
So the question about home title fraud is interesting. The San Diego City Attorney's Office just put out a press release on it, that they're keeping an eye on this problem, that they're concerned about high pressure sales, that they're convincing seniors that they need this home title protection, which really isn't necessary because it's not as great of a threat as these companies are making it out to be, that without you having any idea whatsoever that someone can steal your house out from under you. So not my area of expertise. I would Google it like everything else and learn about the problem, but I would never buy any insurance product without talking to multiple providers, talking to your trusted financial advisors, and making sure that those decisions, anytime anyone's trying to scare you with anything. I mean, I got a call yesterday from DirecTV. I've been a customer for 20 years. It was actually DirecTV, but they were still trying to scam me. Congratulations. Thank you for your loyalty and being a customer for 20 years. We're giving you Showtime free for 3 months. Then it's $10 a month.
Right.
And it wasn't, do you want it? It was, you're getting it, unless I said, no, I didn't want it. So every time the phone rings, it's just sad. We're at that point. It's 2023. Technology is incredible in some ways, and it's also very concerning. So the other call that I get, which breaks my heart, is, hi, Scott, this is the Wounded Warriors Foundation. Do you want to give? And of course, instantly I want to give everything I have to the Wounded Warriors, but I have to think that this is not the Wounded Warriors that's calling me. And so if it's the Cancer Society or whoever, you hang up the phone, you say no thank you, then you look up the Cancer Society or you look up Wounded Warriors and you call them directly yourself. You cannot give money to anyone that is cold calling you or knocking on your front door anymore. You have to pause, talk to people, ask questions if something sounds legitimate. Don't go with contractors that are knocking on your door. They're probably unlicensed with a fake card. You know, if you have a project at your house, get multiple estimates and make sure you're using a licensed contractor, get referrals. These are common things that we're seeing people fall victim to. Yes?
The caller says we want to send you free COVID tests.
Scam. It's like you could just go around. It's a scam. There are free COVID tests. The U.S. Post Office, right, sends you free COVID tests, so don't worry about it.
What about the Cash App like Zelle, bank to bank, but is there any way, I mean, there's reports about Zelle?
Yeah, Zelle and Cash App, Venmo, they're all very safe if you know who you're sending your money to. I use all of them and to send money to my friends and my family. But if someone called me on the phone and said, hey, we're running a promotion this month, you could pay your SDG&E bill using Zelle, send us $1,000 and you get free power for 6 months, then I'd say, I'm not going to send Zelle for this. So.
And what about wires from overseas that somebody uses now? You know, they used to send checks for a business, legitimate business, and they want to do the wiring. Is there a way for them to intercept emails with the wire because you have your ADI and your check account number and all that?
I mean, if you're legitimately doing overseas business,
Yeah.
and you're using your bank and you're talking to your banker about safeguards, I mean, there's no risk in doing that.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So when I have gotten phishing emails and things like that, and I can tell it's a phishing email, I have often gone to, you know, the organization or business's real website and looked for their fraud email and forwarded it to them. Does that help? Is it worth the time to do it?
I don't think so. I mean, I used to do that also, but there's so many billions of these
Right.
emails. I mean, what could they're not going after these people. The best thing to do is on your own device now, you know, just block it so that they can't resend you something. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a situation like that where I got scammed from the Geek Squad, and it looked very much like the Geek Squad logo, and you know they said it was the end of the period, and they wanted to, I'd have to pay $417 unless I called up right away. So I called up, got the cancellation number, and they said, hold on, we had to check you one more spot, and that's when I pulled out money. And they went into my bank account and put in, you know, their numbers,
Right.
and then said, here, we're going to take this money out. So I reported to the FBI, I reported to the Federal Trade Commission, I reported to Consumer Financial Protection Board, and I'll go and talk to the Sheriff's Office as well.
Thank you for having the courage to share that with us, because that is one of the most common ways. Very clever. It looks like it's your own money that's being moved around.
Yep.
And it looks like you're getting money back, and that's how they get people a lot of times. Thank you for sharing. But Chris, do you want to close it out? Because I have to get to my day job back in court, but I want to tell everyone to visit the table where Dahlia is, get some goodies from the DA's office on your way out and talk to Dahlia. But Chris, go ahead.
I just wanted you to be aware that there is a Medicare scam going on right now too. And I've been working with a client for 2 months. And where those scams are coming from are those insurance agents that give you all the quotes, and some of them are not reputable. And somehow they've hacked this one account from all of her, so every time we get it fixed, they change it again. So you need to really be aware of your Medicare, and also, when you get a bill from your doctor that you ordered some type of equipment, that is another $1 billion scam that's going on with your Medicare. So you just need to pay attention to what comes in the mail from your Medicare, your bills, your doctors, and report those too. And he has the numbers, and in this booklet, there are all of those numbers to report it. And please report it so we can take care of it, please.
But please don't go away yet. Let's thank Scott.
Thank you so much.
And I have just a few more things to say. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Good job.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Good?
Yeah.
Want me to put anything in my car?
So one of the things in your package on the evaluation form, if you would take time to fill that out, that really helps us. Also on there, the next month we are going to, our topic is living to be 100, getting more out of the life as we age. So please, if you'd like to come, go online and register. If you know somebody else that might like to come, please do. Tell them about it. I appreciate that. And does anyone, before we leave, have questions for Rick or I? All right. Thank you so much for being here.